Hi, my sweet angel love bugs. Today, we're going to be doing a presentation. Who am I? So organized. And we're going to be talking about authenticity, authentic expression, and embodying our authentic selves. And I think this is really important, especially right now. I mean, if you're not into astrology, if you don't give two shits about astrology, who cares that it doesn't have to be relevant? But if you do, right now it's the day after the full moon in Aries, and this is bringing in a lot of energy of authentic expression, embodiment, and like allowing it to be a new chapter of getting in touch with who the fuck we are and letting that shine in every way, shape, and form. So let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen. Wait, universe. What is technology? Okay, here we go. Oh, yep. Don't mind all of my tabs that we have open here. I got this. We got this. Together we can. Look at me. I have a presentation. Is this not the wildest thing you have ever seen in your entire life? I know. It is pretty wild. So, 5 steps to authentic expression. Let's dive the fuck in. The first step to authentic expression is, and I just came up with this, this might not be like a 5-step process that resonates with you. Follow your own fucking freak flag, let it flow. But this is what I found in my life. And when I was just sitting down to channel what these steps would look like, this is what came through for me. So take what resonates as always and leave what does not. This is a space where you are in your center of personal power. So always come back to that sense of discernment with yourself when you are learning in this space, okay? Your sense of self and what you know to be true for you will always take precedence over what I teach. Just want to put that in there, okay? So the first step is become aware of the stories and scripts that play in your mind of who you should be. So one of our first instincts as baby human beings is to receive love and acceptance. So we tend to alter the way that we show up in the world in order to receive that sense of love and acceptance. And this lives in our root chakra. It is the first energy center that is to develop. And it's all about tribe and community and fitting in and being taken care of. It's this survival mechanism that lives within us because as humans, we cannot fend for ourselves when we first come out of the womb. We need to be fed, we need to be sheltered. And that's not true for all animals. And for us, that is the first sense of necessary needs that we need to have that are met is that sense of acceptance, is that sense of being loved. Because if we are loved, if we are accepted, we are then taken care of. And that brings us to a sense of safety, which opens up everything else. So these scripts and the stories that are in our mind of who we should be in order to gain love and acceptance in the world are really hardwired within us. And there's a lot of societal conditioning surrounding what is acceptable in the way that we are allowed to show up. And in order to get in touch with our authentic self and in order to express our authentic self, we have to become aware of what the stories are that constantly play in the background in order to look at these stories and say, I see you, I love you, I understand that you are here to protect me, and then choose differently. But if we don't have the awareness surrounding what stories are shaping who we are and how we show up in the world, it's really hard for us to break that narrative and to choose differently. So the first step is to become aware of the stories. And you can do this in a variety of different ways. But especially anything you can do to quiet the mind or to become the observer of the mind. That's really the goal here, is to observe what's happening up here so that we can come back and unite with our sense of who we actually are on the inside, and not letting our ego, not letting our mind take control over, and our subconscious mind take control over the way that we show up in the world. So meditation obviously is a really great way to become the observer. But I say that with a grain of salt because I think that there are so many different ways that we can become in touch with who we are. And one thing for me that has been extremely powerful is just bringing presence and awareness to the way that I navigate the world. So not necessarily just sitting in meditation, but say, for example, I receive a text from a family member and it brings something up in my body that makes me feel like I should show up in a certain way, a family member, a friend, whoever it may be. And it's in these moments where I'm triggered, where I can bring extra awareness to what it is that's going on in my mind. And why do I feel like why do I feel this way? Why do I have these heightened emotions? Why do I have this heightened attachment to whatever it is that I'm feeling in this moment? And it's in those spaces when we can observe the body and the way that the body is reacting, and we can breathe in extra spaciousness and we can bring in extra awareness. But it's in that time where we're separating ourselves from reacting automatically and we're allowing ourselves to respond consciously. And I have no doubt that meditation and sitting in meditation and doing yoga and doing breath work and all of these things have prepared me to be able to know what that feels like and to bring deeper awareness into my body, into my mind, into my soul. But it's in the actual moments of living these practices when we are given the opportunity in life based on interacting with others, based on just showing up in the world and what comes up for us in these moments when we are showing up, where we get to bring this sense of conscious awareness. But if we're not living our practices outside of doing the practices aren't doing very much. So that's what I'm going to say about that in personal experience. I think there's a lot of emphasis in the spiritual community of you have to show up in this way and do all of these things and meditate and do breath work and do yoga and all, which are amazing practices. But the practices are preparing us to live spirituality, or to embody this into every aspect of our life, not to just sit there in meditation. Personally, that's all. That's what I'm going to say about that one. So become aware of the stories and scripts. And of course, journaling is extremely powerful with this as well, because it's in those moments where we can see on paper what these scripts are. So say, for example, you are triggered and then you take some time and space to journal about, okay, this is what I'm feeling in my body. Where does this come from? And just asking your body simply, like, where does this come from? The subconscious mind lives in the body, and a lot of these stories and scripts live in the subconscious mind. So when we can get in touch with that, we can then bring that to the surface. And when it comes to the surface, we're able to then choose differently. But we can't choose differently if we aren't aware. Number 2, create the space to discover who you truly are. So this is the moment when we are choosing differently, but we have to have a sense of spaciousness in order to know what that looks like for who we actually are. So the first step is really about getting in touch with who we are not. This is getting in touch with who we are. And it's by asking ourselves simple questions like, what do I enjoy? What makes me feel good? What is supernatural for me? How do I, like, not supernatural, like mystical, but what is supernatural for me to do and to show up in the world? And this is something I've noticed with myself, especially in respect to social media. When I have tried to show up in a certain way, or the way that I quote unquote should show up, it feels like there's so much pressure and my words aren't flowing. What it is that I'm saying or being or doing, it takes so much thought, so much conscious and curated thought to show up in that way. And when I allowed those filters and those stories to be let go, and I said, I can be whoever I'm meant to be on this platform and in every way, shape, and form in my life. And that is where the power is. It's when we don't have to think about how we're showing up and we can just be true to ourselves. And something that I've had to do is cultivate a sense of trust within myself to be like, I trust myself to show up in the world with love. I trust myself to communicate with love. I trust myself to set boundaries that are based in love. And I trust that everything I'm doing is centered in love. So I can do whatever the fuck I want and not think I'm doing something wrong or constantly try to micromanage the way that I'm showing up in the world, because I'm trusting myself that it's rooted in love. And that has taken a lot of work in terms of getting in touch with who I am and how it is that I show up and what it is that I have to bring to the world and what it is that I'm here to offer the world and who my true soul is. And it's through those moments of being just with me. And giving myself the space. And when I say space, I don't just mean like removing yourself from the world. It's also giving yourself the space to do more things that you like. I love to dance. I didn't know that I loved to dance. I was afraid to try. I was afraid to do something where I looked stupid or I wasn't good. But we have to be willing to live life, and this is the key to this as well, is living life on the edge of our comfort zone and following what it is that lights us up, and allowing those spaces and places to take us to the next level of expansion. But it has to be led by the heart. And creating the space to discover who you truly are is heart-centered. We come from the mind and we come back to the heart and we come back to the body, and we allow the sparks, the love, the sense of curiosity to guide us in our actions. And this has also come through deep spaces of silence and meditation and breath work and yoga and dance. But it's also come through just allowing myself to do things that feel good, period. Just allowing myself to be in a space of feeling good. And a part of that comes from doing my nails. It comes from like giving myself fake tans. It comes from, I just did this the other night and I was like, I never felt so good. It comes from allowing myself to express like in a sensual way, to be in touch with my feminine essence, to be in touch with my like quote unquote feminine, my more lunar essence. It comes from just allowing myself to do what it is that brings me joy. And 90% of that is sitting in a hammock, living my life, reading a book, reading things that light me up, not judging myself, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But it's in the spaciousness of letting go of who we are not, where we allow ourselves to find who we are. But that comes from conscious curiosity surrounding what brings me back to my heart, what brings me back to my body, what feels effortless, and how can I just allow myself to be in that space a little bit more. So the third thing here is surround yourself with unconditionally loving people. Create a safe space for authentic expression. And this is something that I feel my eyes getting teary, because it's been so important along my journey to surround myself with people who love me unconditionally. And a lot of these people have come into my life by surprise or into my life coincidentally. And they've taught me so much about what friendship is, what love is, what it means to be fully embodied as this authentic version of myself. But I've also noticed that the people who love me unconditionally also love themselves unconditionally. And it's been extremely inspiring to connect with people who love themselves so deeply and who love me for all that I am and love my quirks and love, just really, truly appreciate me. And how to do this, you have to look for these people. You have to look for these people. You have to look and acknowledge and connect to their energy. And this can be as simple as like connecting to somebody on social media and just saying, I love the way that this person is authentically embodying all that they are. And it makes me feel good to enter into their energy vortex. And also, this comes from eliminating people or removing your capacity to hold space and connect with people who you feel judged by and who judge themselves. And it doesn't have to be anything like extreme or aggressive in terms of this person no longer has access to me, which I have also done. But it is necessary if you want to learn how to authentically express yourself, to have a community of people who authentically expresses themselves and allows you to do that. And we can also teach people how to love us unconditionally. I have done this with a lot of my friends and family, but it's come from allowing myself to be loved unconditionally by me first, and then teaching people how to love me in that way. And that comes from setting boundaries and through honoring myself. Really, it's like the boundaries is the result of me honoring myself. When I say, I need this space for XYZ reason. I love you unconditionally. I'm here for you unconditionally. And also right now I need to show up for me. When I do that, I give people the opportunity to show up for themselves in respect to our relationship. Because a lot of the time we think that friendship and being a good friend means that we are willing to compromise our own well-being in order to be there for other people. And that's not what real friendship is, in my opinion. That's not what friendship is that's rooted in unconditional love. That's what friendship is when it's rooted in being a martyr. And that is not something I'm available for. So when I honor myself, I also give the other person the opportunity to honor themselves in our friendship, in our relationship. And I mean, even with like my mom, oh my gosh, my mom has been, our relationship has transformed so much the way that I have over the timeline of me choosing to love myself unconditionally. And it's a really, really beautiful thing. And it's something I can't even put into words. It's just so expansive and so beautiful. And that has also come from choosing to surround myself with unconditionally loving people, prioritizing these relationships and not prioritizing relationships that don't make me feel good. It comes down to feeling good. And that's like the key to being high vibe. That's the key to spiritual expansion. It's just feeling good. And when we are feeling good, we are aligned with our authentic self. And I do this because it's also connected to our chakra system. When we are fully aligned and embodied in it's like this special, beautiful space where our soul meets our mind and our emotions and our body, and it's all in union, it's all in alignment. It's from that space where we are able to fully shine. So acknowledge when you feel out of alignment and when you feel not good in the space of certain people. And it can be as simple as telling yourself, I will not prioritize this relationship, period. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to. You do not have to prioritize relationships that take you away from yourself. Our goal is to come back to ourselves. Our goal is to give our soul the space it needs to fully be embodied in all that we are. That is authentic expression. That is authentic expression. And we have to curate this environment for ourselves in order to show up in this way. And it's not fucking easy. When we are relating to other people and our actions affect other people, it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's absolutely fucking necessary if we want to authentically express ourselves. All right. And that you are safe to do this. Okay. Also, don't mind any noises in the background. We live in Mexico. We're living La Vida Loca. Here in Mexico, we have motorbikes, we have trucks, we have like trucks that come by and sing to you and tell you what they're selling. It's really, it's fun. It's an adventure. We have ice cream people. We're good. We're living. Okay. Number 4, playfully explore what it feels like to embody your authenticity a little bit more every day. And this is going to look different from me than it is for you, than it is for that person or that person. Our authentic souls and the way that they are meant to be expressed through us is unique to us. And it's not about like, say, for example, it's not about looking at me and seeing, okay, she expresses herself in this way. So I should express myself more in that same way. It's about getting in touch with how do I want to express myself in this moment, and allowing that inner critic that comes up automatically to take a back seat. It's about responding as opposed to reacting. And a lot of the time when it comes to authentic expression, we have this voice of judgment that comes in automatically and stops us from showing up in the way that we are drawn to show up in that moment. So when that inner critic comes up, we're playfully exploring what it feels like to just embody our authentic expression a little bit more in that moment, and creating the space for ourselves to do that. So for me, and I talk a lot about social media because I do have a really beautiful, special relationship, especially to Instagram, because Instagram is a place where I've allowed myself to more fully express myself authentically. And it's inspired me to do that in every area of my life. And it's been a really beautiful, playful journey for me. And it's been a huge teacher of mine, especially when it comes to authenticity. So that was my playful exploration, is expressing myself in this space and seeing what happens just a little bit more every day. And that authentic expression, and how good it felt, and how alive it made me feel, and how true and connected to my soul and to myself it made me feel, gave me the courage and the confidence I needed to be able to integrate that into every area of my life. So in what spaces in this moment in your life do you feel safest to be able to express yourself just a little bit more, and allow that momentum, that courage, that confidence that comes from playfully exploring with your relationship to authentic expression to integrate and to bleed into all other areas of your life in their own time. But it is never any pressure to go from like, oh my gosh, literally shoulding all over yourself. I should show up in this way. I should be this person. I should do X, Y, Z. And living from a more like constricted, expressive state of being, just because this is normal. This is what we're taught to do. This is how we're taught to show up. So there's no pressure for you to go from like, oh my gosh, I am living in this way, and there's a lot of shoulds in my life, and then to go immediately to I'm just going to be me in every single space. It's just a little bit more every day, slowly, and meeting yourself through the eyes of unconditional love. And remember, like, this is something that you're learning for the first time. We're not taught how to do this. This is not taught in school. We're taught to be a good kid. We're taught to be a good girl, especially. We're taught to like that boys don't cry. We have all of these things, all of this conditioning that's like the weight of the fucking world that's on our shoulders that we take in, that forms the way that we show up in the world. And like from the ages of 0 to 7, our subconscious is just about like almost fully formed, and we operate from that time from 0 to 7 completely in the theta brainwave state. And I'll talk about brainwaves like later on at another time, but that means we're basically just like a sponge, and we have to reprogram ourselves and recondition ourselves and reparent ourselves from the ages of 7 for the rest of our fucking life, because we're just unlearning all the shit we've been taught and how we're meant to show up in the world. We're saying, oh no, I don't want to show up like that anymore because it doesn't feel good. And this is a process. So be extremely gentle with yourself, allow in just a little bit more love wherever you can find it into your life, and like continuously show up for the space of self-love, because you deserve to be loved. You deserve to show up in the world from a space of I love myself no matter how the fuck I show up, and it feels good to do that. It feels good to be me. It feels good to share my authentic self with the world, because there are people who are looking for you just as you are. And it's really hard for us to get out of the state of like, oh no, but I'm accepted when I show up in this way. And then realize like, oh my gosh, when I just allow myself to be me, not only, well, like, of course, we might be rejected, which is really scary at first. We might be judged, which is really scary at first. But when you have a strong foundation of unconditional love for yourself, and you seek out the spaces and the places where you feel safe to love yourself fully, and you have that support, and you have this really strong, grounded foundation, that you can build upon, it grows into every aspect of your life, and it's extremely liberating. And the rejection and the quote unquote failure and the judgment won't matter because you are safe with yourself. And that's something I've experienced. It's like, oh, of course, people are probably judging me. I'm fucking weird. Like, I'm weird. I talk about weird shit. I do weird things. I post weird things online. And that's just who I am. I'm a little quirky angel baby nugget, but like, everything that I am is love. Everything that I am is love. So when people don't love me through that, I say, okay, because I love me through that. So the way that people view me doesn't fucking matter. And something I've noticed is the more I love myself, the more I feel loved by others. And it's so natural for us to project this view of judgment onto other people that we assume they have for us. So the more we embody ourselves, and the more we judge ourselves for embodying ourselves, the more we assume other people judge us. And that's not necessarily true. Maybe they fucking love us, but it all comes down to the relationship that we have with ourselves, because the relationship we have with ourselves will be mirrored back to us by other people. Our external reality is a result of what's happening on the inside. It's a mirror of what's happening on the inside. And once we can accept and find unconditional love for ourselves, we will find that other people accept and love us just as much as we love ourselves. And those who don't, it will not matter as much. So I really want to remind you that you are safe to do this. I know it feels scary, and it really does mess with our safety complex because it goes against everything we've been taught and conditioned. And the last step for authentic expression is let go of judgment for yourself and others. And this is the hardest, in my personal opinion. And I just burped. Burping is a release of energy in one way or another. So I don't know if that was for you or for me. Sometimes when I do healing sessions, I burp and people are like, this is not a safe space. But it's just a release of energy. Burping, yawning, it's all good. So sometimes when I'm releasing a lot of energy, that will happen. So I apologize if I burped into the microphone. But letting go of judgment for ourselves and others is the most important. And it's the hardest thing to do because we judge ourselves based on all of the stories, all of the conditioning that we have accumulated into our mind, into our subconscious. Our subconscious lives in the cells of our bodies. And it's really hard to heal from when things are physicalized, because the physical level of our energy is the most dense. And I'm not saying it's hard to heal. It just takes more time and it takes more effort and it takes more energy, because when things are physicalized, it's solidified. It's the heaviest, the densest layer of energy for us to heal. And the subconscious, as I mentioned, lives in the cells of our bodies. And this is when I say that, I'm referring to research that Dr. Candace Pert has done. And she coined the term body mind. And she's been a really amazing teacher of mine. And to understand the subconscious being physicalized, I feel like it has helped me so much transform my relationship with the subconscious mind and the healing work that I do with that, because I understand that it takes time. And the subconscious is also a habitual mind. So we have to create habits for ourselves in order to re-teach ourselves how we are safe to show up. So that's what I mean as well when I say, like, showing up just a little bit more as this authentic expression of who you are, because that's creating new habits. And the more love you let into your life, the more we allow that love to spread throughout our being. But it has to be a habit of coming back to love and coming back to love and coming back to love. And there will be a lot of judgment that lives inside of us as we try to meet ourselves with more love, because that's our ego, that's our subconscious coming through to say, no, you're not safe to do this because you have been rejected in the past for showing up in this way. And that it's just past conditioning that comes up and comes up and comes up. And the stronger that we the harder we go in terms of letting more love in and showing up authentically, the harder our ego will show up to try to protect us, because our ego's job is to keep us safe. And when we show up authentically, it feels unsafe. It's literally the root chakra will be activated to be like, I'm not safe to do this. And it goes like, this is what I imagine it going like wee you, wee you, wee you, wee you, wee you, red lights flashing. I'm not safe to do this. I'm not safe to do this. And the more we try to show up, especially at first with authentic expression, the more our egos will be like, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. And so letting go of the judgment for yourself and of others, I'll talk about the of others in just a moment, but like letting go of the judgment for yourself and saying, I am safe to show up like this. It comes back to safety. And when the voices come in that tell you you're not good enough, or there's something wrong with you because you want to show up in this way, that's the voice of judgment. We meet that voice of judgment and we're cultivating spaciousness, remember? And we are looking to respond as opposed to react. And the reaction when we hear that judgment is, I will stay small. I will not show up in this way. And the response when we see that judgment and we cultivate space is, I see this judgment and I choose to show up differently. And that's really where the magic comes in terms of authentic expression. And in respect to letting go of judgment for others, the way that we view others is a reflection of the way that we view ourselves. And so I always remind myself of this, because when I feel energy from others that is not of love, I remind myself, it must be really hard for this person in this moment to meet themselves. And the way they meet me is a reflection of how they meet themselves. And the way that I meet others is a reflection of how I meet myself. And we tend to be a lot harder on ourselves than we are on others. So if somebody's hard on you, just imagine how hard they are on themselves. Imagine, like, when somebody's mean to you, they're 10 times meaner to themselves. And when we're mean to others, or when we judge others, we're 10 times meaner to ourselves, and we're 10 times more judgmental to ourselves. So in order to cultivate non-judgment for us, we have to also learn how to cultivate non-judgment for others. And something that's helped me with that is acknowledging that everyone's just doing the best that they can. I'm doing the best that I can with what I know. They're doing the best they can with what they know. And truly, like, seeing ourselves and others through the eyes of compassion, because the more that I learn in this life, the more I realize I know absolutely nothing. Like, the universe lives inside of me, and I have access to all of this magic, and in terms of my intuition and spirit, and like, that is something I feel very confident in. And I know that there's infinite knowledge that lives in there. And then the other side of it, the more I realize, the more I learn about anything really at all, the more I learn that, holy shit, there's so much more to learn and to be learned. And I am processing this life, and I am moving through this life based on my lens, based on my perspective, based on the conditioning that I have experienced each and every day growing up. And I cannot project my own unique experience onto anybody else in this world. I can't do that. I can't do that, because I don't understand what it feels like to grow up in anybody else's body. And people will meet you as a reflection of how they meet themselves. So just know that, honor that, be gentle with others, as gentle as you can be. And the more gentle you are with others, the more you will teach yourself how to be gentle with you. And they play off hand in hand. So that is my 5 steps for authentic expression. Let me stop this screen share. I hope that this was helpful in any way, shape, or form. I love you all. I hope you have a beautiful day. And I think that about does it. You got this. If this resonates, definitely leave a comment. So subscribe. Yes, subscribe to my channel. I'm new here. And I'll be showing up every Monday. And feel free to follow me on Instagram at Ali Aligns or at Bad Witches Not Sad Witches. Bad Witches Not Sad Witches is more of my like wellness, spirituality vibe, and Ali Aligns is more of me being a fucking weirdo. So you're welcome in both spaces. I love you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day. Go get 'em, killer. You got this.